Hello, everyone, and welcome to Conf42 Incident Management 2024 conference. Imagine your organization facing a major security issue. Time is running out, things are chaotic, and everyone is scrambling to fix the problem. And to make the situation more interesting, communications are falling apart. Does it sound familiar? As a cybersecurity analyst, we spend a whole lot of our time building security controls that we hope will prevent an incident from happening in the first place. But the reality is that the incident happens or will happen. What if you have had a clear step-by-step guide to tackle any incident quickly and efficiently? Which is why a cybersecurity team or an organization is expected to have a strong understanding of what to do or how to do or what to do when things go wrong. In today's talk, I'll be exploring what an incident response playbook is and how we can implement one. My name is Chinekezi. I'm an Israel security analyst with Cybersecurity Technologies. And on today's talk, I'll be looking at master incident response, elevate efficiency with Playbook. Let's dive into it. So in order to drive this talk, I'll be looking at some outline. One of them is understanding what incident response is. We'll also be considering the challenges that are in incident management. What incident response playbook is. We'll also be considering the benefits of using incident response playbook. Then the guide to creating one. We also consider you can stop looking at the elements of an effective incident playbook. And then we look at an example, the tools and technology, and then we conclude. Understanding incident response. According to NIST actually defined incident response as a systematic process for handling cybersecurity incidents. Incidents like data breaches or malware infection or any form of cybersecurity incidents. Why do we actually need incident response? One of the reasons why we need it is because it actually helps to reduce damage and downtime. It also ensures business continuity and protects sensitive data from being exploited by the threat actors when there is an incident. And in order to do this, or to be able to effectively protect our data from being exploited, NIST actually provided us with 4 guides. These 4 guides are preparations. We have the detection and analysis. We have the curtailment and eradication and recovery. We also have the post-incident activities. We also have the SAN incident response, which actually also states or outlines the steps that could be taken in order to detect and prepare for an incident. Now we're looking at the challenges in incident management. One of the challenges in incident management is lack of clear procedures. Without a clear process, there's a risk of confusion and delay in response, especially when something goes wrong. And also, there is bound to be an error in the incident management process because at that point, the team might end up working on an assumption without a clear path to follow. We also have inadequate incident categorization and prioritization. This is a major issue. Where incidents are not properly categorized, it can lead to the team giving top priority to the least expected incidents. Lack of tools and resources. Where there is no tools and resources, it becomes a challenge to effectively manage or quickly respond to the incident. We have the inadequate training. Where there is no training, it makes it difficult for the team to effectively jump at the incident when it happens. We have lack of communication and collaborations. And now we're looking at what incident response playbook is. An incident response playbook is a detailed, structured set of procedures that actually outlines what an organization should do in an event an incident happens. It tells them how to detect it, how to respond to it, and how to recover from the cybersecurity incident. One primary goal of incident response is to help organizations minimize the impact of breaches and to ensure they restore back or they return back to business as quickly as possible. So there are different types of playbooks that an organization can actually decide to develop. And this is based on the potential threat identified in the environment, as well as the kind of operation they are into, and as well as their sizes. So there are different playbooks that they could choose from. This is a list of some. There are more playbooks that can be exploited, but these are not, this one listed here are just few. One is the ransom playbook. We also have the data breach. We have the malware playbook. We have up to the 0-day vulnerability playbook. This list are just few. There are many other playbooks that could be developed by an organization based on the identified threats within their business operations as well as their sizes. Then we look at the benefits of incident response playbook. One of the benefits of incident playbook is improved efficiencies. Because there's already streamlined process, it helps the team to quickly respond to the incident and then reduce the downtime or the impact of those incidents. You have the enhanced effectiveness. Because of the clear procedures that already outline what they to do and how they are to go about it, it helps the decision making very fast. And then they will end up making an impactful action or taking a more impactful action. It also increases collaboration. Where there is a well-defined role, it helps them to be able to know who to escalate to because they already have the role matrix that spells out who they are to escalate to in an event something goes wrong. So it shows the chain of escalation, making the coordination of the incident very smooth. And then we have guides to creating incident playbook. One important thing to note is that before an organization can go ahead in developing an incident playbook, there's need for them to actually understand their security posture. And this is actually done by identifying the potential vulnerability and threat that is specific to the operations. And by so doing, they are able to come up with the strategy to curtail those identified weaknesses. And this is done by performing penetration testing or vulnerability assessment. These two testing actually gives them an overview of how their environment is, as well as the weaknesses and possible remediation of what they can do to ensuring a stronger security posture. And we have create reporting checklists. I would like to also mention before I go to create reporting checklist that this test actually helps them to determine the severity as well as also be able to define the priorities, because identifying those vulnerabilities within the environment will help them to be able to have a proper categorization as well as prioritizing those incidents based on their severity and impact on their businesses. I move on to the create reporting checklist. So this checklist is like a template that helps the team to be able to document their findings during the investigation and be able to enter the activities that are executed in order to curtail those incidents. They will have defined clear procedures. Like we rightly mentioned, there are different types of playbooks. And these playbooks should have a clear process for detecting, investigating, and also identifying the potential security, and then prioritizing them based on their severity and impact. This can only be achieved where the organization already have a clear understanding of what poses a threat in their environment. Then you have established roles and responsibilities. This is key because it helps in the escalation point. You also have developed communication plans. Then you have tests. After developing those processes, there is need to actually test to know the effectiveness of those processes, of those tools that are implemented to detect and actually help the organization's security. This can be done by performing a tabletop exercise. This tabletop exercise helps to determine the readiness of the team in fighting against incidents. And then we have the refined. The refined actually helps in identifying the gaps and possible improvements of the processes. When an exercise is done, as the tabletop exercise is done, then they are able to identify what is not properly taken care of, and they're able to improve on it by refining those processes and taking into account the new identifying gaps and how they could build a stronger security posture. And then we have the next 4 phase explained. These 4 steps actually gives a better understanding to the organization or the security team on how they could, be incident ready. Firstly, I would like to highlight that for any organization to be able to have an effective playbook, there's need for them to have a better understanding of what NIST incident guideline is. Without a clear understanding of what NIST guideline is, it's very difficult for them to be able to take into account these 4 phases and be able to get ready for any form of incident. So in order to have this incident properly outlined and in line with the best practices, it is important the organization understand this NIST framework. And by so doing, they are able to build it into this processes and then have an effective playbook. Now we'll be looking at the key elements of an effective incident playbook. So the key elements are 4. One is the initiating condition. This particular one defines what the trigger is. Then you have the process steps. This actually spells out the step-by-step instruction on how to execute the playbook. Like I said, there are different types of playbook, and each playbook has its unique processes. The way phishing playbook is actually different from how the malware playbook is, because the flow of the two are actually different. And so the steps to curtailing them also differs. So the playbook actually spelled out how this can be executed. Then you have the roles and responsibilities. This actually tells you which of the team is responsible for what, which must be in line with the best practices. And then we have the communication. Here describes the internal and external communication procedures. With the communication metrics, you are able to identify the escalation point or the escalation line or chain, which helps the team to be able to coordinate properly. Now we're looking at a typical example of a phishing attack response playbook. This is not the best of it, but this is just for the purpose of learning. So I'll be assuming a test scenario. A large organization, a financial organization, faced a sophisticated phishing attack targeting its employees. The attacker aimed to steal sensitive information and gain unauthorized access to the company's system. Remember the first thing we said, trigger, which is the initiating condition. The employee reports a suspicious email, or the security team detected the unusual login attempt and flagged them as potential phishing attempts. So this is a trigger. The employee reports it as a suspicious email, or the security team are able to detect it using any of the automated tools. Now, we'll go to how this can be built into the NIST incident response plan. One, we have the detection state. Remember we said it's a phishing email. So the first thing is to verify that it's a phishing attempt. because the trigger said is a phishing attempt to steal information. In verifying the phishing attempt, we're going to be considering looking at the IOCs. We're talking about the malicious link, the attachments, and the impersonated domains using some threat intelligence platforms, such as Recorded Future or Sodan, or Abuse IDPX, sorry. So in such situation, the team goes in there to check and see if there have been any reported abuse on the identified IOCs. And then we move to curtailment. Curtailment has to do with stopping the spread. And stopping the spread is stated that you block the sender's email address. You quarantine the affected email. You also revoke any access that is granted by the compromised credentials. So I'll move to the eradication. So you have scanned the affected endpoint. You also review the logs to ensure that there's no other employee who must have clicked on the compromised or interacted with the emails. If there is any, you reset their passwords just to ensure that there is no more spread. Then we'll go to the recovery. Here you are ensuring that all the compromised accounts of the system are secured. You can test by also stimulating a potential phishing exploit to be sure that there is no residue remaining within the environment. Then you post incident activity. There you are reviewing the attack details, the response effort, and the results. You are looking at what you've done, and you're trying to identify the gaps as well as what you can do better to improve on the security posture. And here you can determine or begin to consider looking at strengthening the email filters and also providing possible trainings to the employee to ensure that they are actually phishing aware, especially when they see any of those emails being sent by the threat actors. So this is a sample of possible phishing response playbook that could be developed to prevent the spread of phishing attack. This is not the best of it, but this just to give us an idea of how a phishing response playbook look like. And then we look at the tools. These tools are actually used to automate the playbooks. One of them is the security information and events management, which is the SIEM. And under this team, there are different SIEM tools that could be used. One of them is Plum, and you have the list of others. You also have the endpoint detection and response tools. An example, you have the Carbon Black, you have the Microsoft Defender, and we have the SOAR, which is also the security orchestration, automation, and response tools. One of the examples is Microsoft Sentinel. So there are different tools that could be used in that regards. We also have the incident management tools. So we have different tools within that square that could be used. We also have the threat intelligence platform. One of them is Recorded Future, and you have the rest of others that could be used. In using this tool, we cannot rule out the human factor or the human intelligence, because the human intelligence helps to analyze some of the identified threat indicators, and they are able to speak to those issues, especially when in identifying the incidents. In identifying those incidents to neither be true or false. Sometimes you have some incidents that are false positive. So with the human intelligence, you are able to identify and look at the behavior as well as the anomalies and be able to determine if they are true or they are false. This is also the role of human intelligence in playbooks and also in ensuring the security of incidents. Then we have common pitfalls to avoid. One is outdated playbook. Due to the evolving nature of technology, the cyber actors or the threat actors also keep improving their tactics on how to get into our system and steal valuable information. So organizations need to ensure that their playbooks are updated and they are also up to the current security trend. Then you have lack of testing, where processes or tools are not tested to validate their effectiveness in detecting those abnormalities, those incidents. It can be an issue, and that should be avoided. And then we have poor communication, where there is no proper definition of communication metrics. It becomes a challenge because you wouldn't know who to escalate to. So the chain of communication becomes a challenge. So that needs to be avoided. And then in conclusion, I would say that by using a well-designed incident response playbook, organizations are able to enhance efficiency and reduce downtime, and also improve on their whole overall security posture. Thank you for listening.